Your Dodgers have won the World Series!
What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Medium Large Sports Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel. That is Anthony Witrado. And yes, that was the new DodgerHeads intro. Anthony, your thoughts?
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Goosebumps, man. Anytime I watch a recap of that October, man, just all the feels, right? And I love the Dodger Blue logo at the end there. That's a cool touch.
Yeah, we tried to go classic this time. Obviously, going through the ages, Jackie Robinson had to be a part of it. Sandy Koufax had to be a part of it. Fernando had to be a part of it. And then, of course, lean a little bit more. Kirk Gibson obviously had to be a part of it. And then lean a little bit more recent. We've got the Bellinger Game 7 NLCS home run, which to me is the moment from the 2020 run that can never be forgotten. That was the biggest hit, the go-ahead home run in Game 7 of the NLCS. And then, of course, you fast forward to this year, you've got Ohtani 50-50. You've got the Ohtani home run against the Padres. You've got, of course, Freddie Freeman, Walker Buehler, so many things. So I'm glad we were able to capture all that in the new intro video. Hopefully people like it and enjoy that. You're going to be seeing a lot of it for the next 12 months. So we appreciate it. Shout out to Zauspan, Zaucepan. You can check him out on YouTube. He does music videos and branding and that kind of a thing. And he was the one who made the video. So shout out to Zach for hooking us up with that. But we got a lot to talk about, Anthony. This morning, I would say, didn't start all that well. If you were awake at 2:45 for the news that Freddie Freeman was scratched from the lineup, but it ended well because the Dodgers ultimately won the game anyways, 4-1. We're going to talk Freddie Freeman's injury, but let's just start with the game. Dodgers open up with a win, 4-1 over the Cubs. Pitching, to me, is the story. What jumped out to you?
It was pitching. The biggest thing that I was looking at was how Yamamoto looked, and he looked good. Not a ton of swing and miss stuff, but I think command-wise, he looked really good. The splitter showed some good life. First start of the season, it's a different environment for the team. Even though Yamamoto's from that country, it's a little bit of a road trip for him because that's not where he typically plays baseball anymore. So. I thought all in all, with the circumstances and everything like that, he looked really good. And there's, we've said this, we said this all winter long, but he comes out of that start and there's already talk about are we sleeping on Yamamoto as a Cy Young candidate?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I love is you and I and Matt, we were having this conversation over the last week and a half saying, hey, if you paid attention to when Yamamoto was healthy, he was one of the 5 or 6 best pitchers in Major League Baseball, according to ERA, which is an important stat when it comes to pitching. And if there is a bump in year 2 for a guy that came over to NPB, was getting used to the ball, hopefully is a little bit more healthy, has a repertoire that is more dialed in and a plan that is more fully formed than it was at the beginning of last season, it could be a jump for him. 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts on 72 pitches for Yamamoto. The key to me, though, Anthony, was what was happening beneath the surface from an analytics perspective. Velocity, let's talk that.
Yeah.
95.5 mile an hour fastball a year ago was up to 96.8 in game 1. Now, is that in Japan, adrenaline, opening day? We'll see if that's sustainable, but an extra 1.5 miles on a fastball for Yamamoto is key. And the result was that he got 9 called strikes with that fastball because of how good the splitter was. But when you get it up to 97 and then guys have to defend against the splitter, that's a tough velocity range to cover.
Yeah, I think that was jumping on guys a little bit. It might have been the opening day home country bump in terms of the velo. But I think what part of it was too is what you just said. The splitter had so much life that guys, when they did see the fastball coming, could not just lean out and jump on it. Yeah. Right? They had to be cautious. And so when he's at his best, that's sort of what he does. Even though he's kind of a power pitcher and he's got that devastating put away pitch, he's really able to keep guys off of balance. And that was when he was at his most effective, I thought, last season. And so, yeah, he had it working today. Well, I think that it didn't get off to a good start, right? With the pitch calm,
Walks the first batter of the game because he's got a pitch clock violation that puts him behind 1-0 to start the game. That's the only walk that the Cubs had all day. The Dodgers ended up with 8. But yeah, to your point, that's how the game started.
Yeah. That's the human element part that I don't need in baseball. like,
Yeah,
like it's the first pitch of the game. Like, chill out. The equipment's
breathe a
not
little bit.
whatever. Okay. But yeah, I just thought overall, for what the situation was, that he looked really good.
Yeah,
This is kind of what you wanted, right? You didn't want a repeat of Seoul last year, right? Because
yeah.
that would have caused everyone to say the season's done. But I think for realistic expectations, this was about as good as he could have been.
Yeah, absolutely. The other, obviously, the key pitch for him was the splitter. 19 swings at that splitter, 9 of them were misses. That's a whiff rate of 47% against that pitch. And part of the reason, again, I mentioned this on the morning show, when you look at the measurements when it comes to vertical movement and horizontal movement, his splitter today was moving horizontally 4 inches more on average than it was last year. Again, small sample size, one game, in a different dome than he's going to be playing in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Something to keep an eye on, because if the fastball velocity is real and the splitter movement is real, Anthony, we've talked about him being a Cy Young guy. Matt and I both picked him to be the highest finisher among Dodgers pitchers in the Cy Young race. I don't think either of us is picking him to win it, but there's a reason they gave this guy, Anthony, the biggest contract in Major League history last year when it came to total dollars handed out to a starting pitcher. That was Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Starts like today, which it's crazy to say today because it feels like it was a million hours ago,
Right.
but starts like today are why the Dodgers thought he was worth that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like they must have seen something. This was something that didn't come out a lot in the initial scouting reports, but like, and I've mentioned this before, they must have seen something with him in terms of what he looked like on big stages.
Yeah.
Because it seems like he continuously gets the ball in like big spotlight kind of moments. And for the most part, he's delivered when he's had those situations. Today being one of them too, because you have to imagine that for those guys and for Sasaki tomorrow morning, this is huge for those dudes, right?
Yeah.
Like they're pitching in front of their home fans where they were rock star legend type status as athletes, and they're going back and pitching in front of that country. So for him to do what he did today again, I think that it really shows why the Dodgers believe they got a frontline number one type of starter in this guy, and why they were willing to pay that much money for him and extend the contract for that long. Not just because that's what it took to maybe win him in his free agency, but
yeah,
the Dodgers are notoriously, let's say, frugal when it comes to who they're giving this kind of money to.
Yeah.
They're very cautious about that kind of thing, and they weren't willing to give it to Scherzer. They weren't, go down the list of whether they are younger free agents or veteran free agents. They just have not been willing to do that. And Yamamoto's age obviously played a part in that, but they're not doing that if they don't see something that they think is like, this is the kind of guy who can be the man.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've treated him like it. To your point, I think it's a great one. They keep giving him the ball. Obviously, this series is in Japan. That makes sense. The World Series, the ball just fell to him more so than they just kind of identified this is our guy. And yet he keeps coming to those big moments. After the big moment in Korea didn't go very well, and he has risen to the occasion. So kudos to him. We do have a super chat here from Ivan. He says 3 for 15 with runners in scoring position. Hits different at 3:30 in the morning. LOL. Ivan, let's just say this. I was very grateful I did not have to do a 7-minute segment on 3 for 15 with runners in scoring position at 5:45 this morning, because the Cubs went 1 for 7 and the Dodgers scored 4 runs and the Cubs did not. So let's just say that, yes, it was not great with runners in scoring position. Okay. But keep in mind some of the guys who came up in those spots. Miguel Rojas, 0 for 2, Kike Hernandez, 0 for 3. There's a couple guys that maybe aren't going to see in the lineup every single day as far as who they're going to have up in those spots. So I'm with you, Ivan, but let's just be grateful. Okay. We won the game. Thankfully, that's not a storyline we need to talk about. I want to get to the bullpen, but Ivan brought up the offense. No hits in the first 4 innings for the Dodgers. Anthony Imanaga had them pretty much shut down, but as soon as he came out of the game, even though he had 4 walks, as soon as he came out of the game and Ben Brown came in, things shifted for the Dodgers. Page's a 1-out walk. Ohtani singles, first hit of the game. Very next pitch, the second single of the game, Tommy Edman for an RBI single to tie this game at 1. Teoscar grounds out. We get the error from Yankees legend John Birdie that scores another run, 2-1 Dodgers. And then Will Smith clean up on aisle Bill, 3-1 RBI single for him. So you go from no hits to a 3-1 lead in the blink of an eye. And there's something about these fifth innings for the Dodgers offense, Anthony. And maybe I should say for the opponent's defense.
Yeah. They did a really look. I thought they were doing this through the first 4 innings. They just couldn't get the big hit, but they were really working the count, really working the pitcher.
Yeah.
And like I said, just couldn't deliver that big hit when they needed it when guys were on. And they just continued. It was more of the same, but it was a pitcher who was not quite as talented as Imanga, and they were able to get to him, and they got to him in a hurry.
Yeah.
I wasn't too worried about those first 4 innings. I thought that for the most part, the at-bats were pretty decent. It didn't look great because they put up a 0, but it wasn't like, oh my God, they're so overmatched against this guy. What's going on? It wasn't a situation like that. And so when they jumped on the first reliever out of the bullpen, wasn't too surprising in all honesty. And I mean, they drove that pitch count up, and they were able to put the barrel on some balls that they weren't able to against Imanga. The Edman hit that was up in the zone, and he sort of fought it off and dropped one into left field. And that was something that they couldn't do in the first 4 innings, right? So and the 3 for 15, it's not great, but again, we keep saying this with this team. The fact that they had 15 at bats with runners in scoring position itself it's a narrative, right? And it's part of what the offense can do. And it's the first game of the season, and it's in a different I'm not worried about this offense.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I see Dakota in the chat saying last night showed a lack of lineup depth. I actually think, Dakota, it was the opposite for me. The Dodgers had 1 guy with 2 hits. That was Shohei Ohtani, but 8 of the 9 guys who played reached base at some point. And so the fact that you were getting some sort of offensive contribution from every guy in the lineup except for Kike Hernandez. Ohtani goes 2 for 5, has the double, 2 balls hit over 107 miles an hour. But you've got Tommy Edman, RBI single. You've got Teoscar Hernandez, a single and a walk. You've got Will Smith, a single and 3 walks. Max Muncy, 0 for 3, but 2 walks. Michael Conforto, 1 for 4. Miguel Rojas, 1 for 4. Andy Pages, 0 for 2, but 2 walks. So the fact that 8 of 9 guys are able to reach, I think that's the type of thing that the Dodgers are going to do to overwhelm teams. Yes, there's going to be nights when Ohtani or Betts or Freeman or Teoscar or Conforto or whoever sort of carries them offensively. But I think even on the down nights, the fact that pitchers are going to have to get to the bottom of this lineup, even on nights when it's Rojas and Pages, and they're going to have to grind and they're going to have to battle, and those guys are going to reach base against them. I think that's actually what makes this group special in a way that maybe not enough people are talking about.
This is the kind of approach that won them the World Series.
Yeah.
It's what won them the division last year. I agree with you. I think it showed the exact opposite, that this team is deep, that you could lose 2 of your 3 best hitters, your number 2 and your number 3 in their order, and still produce 15 at bats with runners in scoring position. That kind of situation, right? And I got news. You take 2 of the top 3 hitters out of any lineup in baseball.
Yeah.
And it's going to get paper thin real fast for any roster.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers, I think, are one of the few teams in baseball that are able to at least sustain that. Like, I'm not saying like Mookie and Freddie can be out for the next 3 months and they're going to be totally fine. No, but day off here, a week nursing something here and there, like they can survive that. And I think it is because of the depth that they're going to be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's shift gears. Let's talk about the bullpen because we have to mention this. Yes, Yoshinobu Yamamoto was awesome. He gives up the run in the 2nd inning. He retires 9 straight to close out his 5 innings. Well, then the bullpen comes in and they give up in 4 innings, 0 hits, 0 runs, 0 walks. Blake Trinan hit by pitch of John Birdie, ironically enough. That's it. The Cubs, down the stretch, go 0 for their last 21. Anthony. Yes, Birdie steals second base and reaches, gets into scoring position, but Bonda, perfect inning with the strikeout. Kasperius, perfect inning with the strikeout. Trinan, almost a perfect inning with 2 strikeouts. And Tanner Scott, his first appearance, his first save, a perfect inning with a strikeout. And I joked, as much as I like Bonda and I like Kasperius, those are the quote-unquote low-leverage arms that the Dodgers have this year. And these guys come into a game and look nasty, perfect, all the stuff, all the velocity, et cetera, et cetera. This group, there's going to be moments where people want to question it and people are going to doubt and they're going to hit rough patches. But on the whole, this bullpen, Anthony, has a real chance to be real special.
Yeah, I think so. This could be, if they have enough health on their side, this could end up being one of the best bullpens that this franchise has ever fielded.
Yep.
In all seriousness.
On paper, it is, and it's probably not even that close.
Yeah. And like you mentioned Banda and Kasperius, Benny Caps as our buddy Scott likes to call him. Like they did that. What was it that I saw about like who has the nastiest? They asked Dodgers who has the nastiest stuff on the staff, and there was like, basically a ghost image, and who could it be? And it sounds like it was Ben Kasperius.
Could be.
It could have been him. And so, and like you saw some of that. And like you said, those are the guys that you're bringing in low leverage kind of situations, because the other guys behind them are so experienced and so dirty that's where those other guys end up in that pecking order. Yeah. And so, like I said, given just a little bit of health, this bullpen ends up being incredibly dominant. And I think that is probably going to be the key for them. Aside from, the rotation depth, you want that health, you need that health. But that bullpen, we saw how critical they were in the run last October. And since around 2000, maybe 2012, 13, right around there, maybe even that first Giants World Series in their run, we see how managers and how teams treat their bullpens in October now. Yeah. It's much different than it used to be. And year by year, as the number of innings pitched by starters reduces in the playoffs, that bullpen depth becomes so much more important. And we saw the Dodgers use it last year and went into and walked their way to a World Series essentially, because the Yankees weren't much of a test for them.
Yeah, Kasperius, like if you follow people who grade out stuff and stuff plus, he's like at the top of every single one of those lists. When you look at all of his pitches are plus in the stuff metric. And yet what's ironic is if this bullpen were fully healthy, not that any of us is ever expecting them to be fully healthy, but if this bullpen were fully healthy, he might not even be on the roster, because that's how many guys they have. Some of them because they don't have options. Yes. But from a sheer numbers game, that just goes to show you how deep and how talented this Dodgers bullpen has a chance to be. We got a super chat here from Jose Martinez. He said, I was happy to see Will Smith's performance. He did a great job leading the pitchers and offensively working 3 walks, a hit, and an RBI. He leads all of Major League Baseball, Anthony, in OPS so far this season. So you can start the Will Smith All-Star campaign. To Jose's point, when the pitchers do well, Will Smith should get some of that credit for the way he calls games and the way he sets up. But I agree, the RBI single in a big spot, and just for a guy who struggled down the stretch, who admittedly is not even 100% healthy to start this season, still dealing with some of the stuff from last year, but it's going to grind through it. As a guy that I personally selfishly root for, I'm happy for him. I'm glad that he gets this under his belt, because he's another one of these dudes that in the middle of this lineup on a good day is up there with the best hitters in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. He is. Good to see him get off to a good start. I think maybe more than some of the other big names in this lineup, that's important for him, considering what last year looked like and the injury stuff. And he's already hurting now, like all of that. Really good to see him do that. And those 3 walks, I mean, again, it's going to be a nightmare facing this team, this lineup, even if a guy or two happen to be out on any given night, because they just grind. It's one thing to have like the pop and the gap to gap power and the guys who are going to deliver 900 kind of OPSs, like all of that stuff. But when all of those guys also grind you to death, that's why they're the best offense in baseball. That's why they have been.
Yeah, absolutely. One other guy, and I know that the box score isn't pretty for a guy like Max Muncy. I just find this stat hilarious. He saw 32 pitches all by himself.
Yeah, he struck out. He had the 2 strikeouts. Was it 2?
Yeah, I think he was 0 for 4 with a walk and a strikeout.
Yeah, and those strikeouts, while they don't look great in the box score, those, if you watch those at bats, they were really good at bats. And I think on both of them, if I'm recalling correctly, he might have fouled off a few pitches before he swung through the strike three. So like, it's not great for his batting average or his, OBP or anything like that, but they were not bad at bats.
0 for 3 with 2 walks. I want to correct myself there.
Okay.
4 of the 5 at bats he had, he worked a full count. And then, ironically enough, the one at bat he didn't get to a full count, first pitch ground out. So maybe he probably hates himself for that one. I can assure you. But again, just watching him, I was like, this is it. I joked on Twitter, Anthony. Some people need to see a home run in order to
get if you did it during the game.
Yeah, I believe it. I tweeted that some people need a home run to get the juices flowing for Major League Baseball. I just need to see Max Muncy work a full count and Will Smith just rope a liner into left center field. Like that's how you get my juices flowing, Anthony. It's how I know it's baseball season.
That's how you know that a guy knows ball too.
Yeah, and is a sicko. One of the two. Hard to say. Let's shift gears. I mentioned there was some bad news today. Freddie Freeman's rib issue. He was scratched just beforehand. And actually, before we talk Freddie Freeman, I mentioned this to somebody that I didn't realize this. When the original lineup came out with Freddie Freeman in it, did you notice that Michael Conforto wasn't going to start today? That it was actually Kike Hernandez against the lefty was going to be in left field. That was super interesting to me. I was expecting Conforto to be an everyday guy. And I know Kike's going to get some time against lefties. And I know, look, I've advocated for him to play more. I was surprised that Conforto on opening day, with plenty of rest all around him, wasn't going to be in this lineup. And sure enough, he ends up with a double. 1 for 4 with a double today.
Yeah, I was surprised. Yeah, I was surprised because I thought he was, if not a 100% everydayer, where it's like he's going to play every day, occasional day off, that kind of thing. I didn't see him as like a 75% everydayer, which right out of the gate, he's getting platooned, and so surprising to me. But I understood it, I guess, but I wasn't up in arms about it. But I did a double take when I saw that for sure.
Yeah, and keep in mind, obviously, it's day one. Who knows what's going to happen? Again, Conforto goes in there, ends up getting a double. I just thought that was interesting. Let's go back to Freeman though. He said during his last round of batting practice today, he felt discomfort in the same area of his ribs that he hurt during last year's playoffs. That it had not given him any issues. But for the first time during like his third swing, I believe, his third to last swing of batting practice is where he felt it. It's in the same spot that troubled him last year. This is from The Athletic, but he said it, quote, feels way better than last year. The team doctor said that it could be scar tissue breaking up. And then Freddie Freeman mentioned he had ramped up volume in the last 2 days trying to fix his swing from the last week. And just as a note, last fall, cartilage between 2 of his ribs pulled apart, which he described as a broken rib. So that was the report. Dave did say that it was, quote, not as severe as last year's. Do you hear all of everything I just say and think, okay, good news or bad news?
TBD. Okay. We kind of know how this goes. So I'm a little worried. I'm not going to lie. Hope if it is the scar tissue stuff, which I think was an educated guess at this time, then that's good. So that would be fine. It was also interesting too, because I read a story before this injury stuff came out and before he got scratched about how, like, it was a story about like the vibes in Japan and how, guys are loving it and loving the crowds and playing to the crowds. And like in practice, in BPs in practice, like, I forgot who said it, but somebody said even Freddie was trying to hit the ball out of the park during those things. And so it kind of made me wonder, like, does all of this and all the ramping up, like he talked about in the last 2 days, like, does that contribute to that? I don't know. I guess we're all just sort of playing armchair doctor and trying to just put theories on this stuff. But he said that he wanted to play. He said that, I think the quote was, I'm 75% a go for game 2.
Yeah. Dodgers list him as day to day.
Yeah, we'll see.
He did say, by the way, that between the 4 hours between batting practice and when he spoke to reporters afterwards, he felt much better. He said previously there were times where he couldn't take deep breaths, it hurt to walk, etc. Yeah. None of that was the case this time. As you said, he wanted to go. So I do think that's some helpful context.
Yeah. these injuries like rib area, those intercostal strains that became popular like in the mid 2000s, they scare me because they tend to linger and be like, oh, he's day to day, and then the guy's out, like misses 30 games or whatever.
Yeah.
So that stuff always tends to give me a little bit of pause. If it means, you know what, you miss both games in Japan, you come back and you're ready for the home opener, and that feels safe, then just do that. Like, I don't want him to push and to play in Japan and then all of a sudden he's out for most of the month or something
Yeah.
like that.
And look, I'm guessing he's going to be in there for game 2. We know this is a guy that like values playing every day, being available. He's going to try and grind through it. He probably also knows that if it is scar tissue and it is soreness, then guess what? He's going to get about 10 days off after this game. So maybe go out there, see what happens, see how it feels, and then see how your body adjusts. If I had to guess, Anthony, I would guess he's in there for game 2. You agree?
I would say yes. And if he
Okay.
is, that's a very good sign, because I think at this point in the season, game 2,
Yeah.
the team would be overly cautious with him. And if he's in there, that tells me then they probably think it's not anything really. It was just some discomfort, and Dr. Yalatrosh is probably right that it was just some scar tissue breaking up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Next on our topic list here, let's shift gears. Let's look to, yes, tomorrow. It's 8 hours, less than 8 hours from now until first pitch. I'll be awake again. I'll be watching the game. I'll be doing a live postgame show at 5:45 in the morning again tomorrow before I take off on a 10-hour journey through the snow to visit some family. But the key story tomorrow is not Freddie Freeman, actually. It's not Mookie Betts, who flew home after feeling sick and losing 15 pounds. It's a gentleman by the name of Roki Sasaki who's making his major league debut. Yes, we've seen him twice in spring training, and yes, he has looked awesome in both of those, but he gets a big boy start tomorrow in Japan. Lots of pressure. Ohtani has talked about how much pressure he felt in this game. I can imagine Roki Sasaki debut pressure, in the Tokyo Dome pressure, all the stuff about how things ended with his time in NPB pressure, wearing the Dodgers uniform pressure, all that stuff all at once on the shoulders of what's essentially a kid. Anthony, what are you expecting from Sasaki when it comes to composure, performance, and really success tomorrow?
I said that I really was impressed by his poise in his first Cactus League start, and it's the Cactus League. It's, whatever, I guess, but like not for him. That's a first time taking the ball as a starter in the big leagues. There was a lot of their spotlight was on him for that game. So I think he probably conducts himself well. Like I think that while he's probably going to be nervous, I'm sure, but again, the way he carries himself, he didn't show that in what we've seen so far. I kind of expect the same thing. I hate to do this, and I'm sort of the cautious guy when it comes to this kind of stuff, but like I think he delivers.
Okay. Talk to me about what that means. I mean, are we talking 5 innings?
I think I don't know what they see him as stretched out to. I didn't see anything like that in any of the reporting yet.
Yeah.
But let's say it's 5 innings.
Okay.
If he gives them 5 innings, I think he can do exactly what Yamamoto did in terms of run prevention. 5 innings, 1 run.
Okay.
Maybe something like 6, 7 strikeouts. Maybe the splitter looks nasty.
Yeah.
I'm on the Sasaki hype train, bro.
Yeah.
I am.
You're unfazed. I mean, we had Lance Brozdowski on this show, who is like a pitching guru. This is the guy that MLB Network brings in to talk about Roki Sasaki and his splitter. And I think, Lance, I saw some people in the comments who it's like, I disagree, so this guy's an idiot, which I think is, unfortunately the norm nowadays. But whether you agree with him or not, Lance's fear is that right now he only has 2 pitches, and there's a chance that his fastball is not even a very good pitch. That yes, the velocity might look impressive, but when it comes to shape, when it comes to extension, when it comes to spin rate, et cetera, then it might be a pretty average pitch with a splitter that might be the best splitter in Major League Baseball. And that's his fear. And that's his concern, is that the Dodgers, like Yamamoto, they said, hey, let's focus on these 2 pitches. And then over time, we will introduce a 3rd pitch, refine, focus, adjust our approach, that kind of a thing. And so he is not skeptical long-term, but he's skeptical short-term. You don't share any of that skepticism, it sounds like.
I mean, we talked about the 2 pitch stuff before. I think I was on with Matt and we discussed it. Look, I've also said, like, I'm concerned that he hasn't developed a plus kind of third pitch, and then
Yeah.
I was quickly corrected about that, and like, oh, actually, he's got this. Da, da, da. So like,
He has a slide. I mean, he threw a slider about 25% of the time in the
yeah,
NPB. We haven't seen it all
right,
that much in spring training. He's a
sure,
two-pitch pitcher for the Dodgers right now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And look, that's been spring training. He's made 2 appearances,
Yeah.
right? Not that are not on the backfields. So again, guys aren't busting everything out in
Yeah.
games in the Cactus League, and so we'll see. We'll see. It's not a concern for me until it's a concern
Yeah.
on that front. But you said that he said he was concerned short term, not long term. If you think he's going to develop that third pitch, then there's no concern at all.
Exactly. He's just saying expectations for his rookie season.
Sure. And I think here's the other thing too, then. With no book on this guy, and we're just talking short term. Let's say his first 4 starts.
Yeah.
2 pitches, when one of them is an 80 put away pitch, plays.
Yeah.
And if he has to ease into the slider or whatever he ends up throwing, fine. But I do think his stuff is good enough. And I've the stuff I've seen too. It's all over the board. Everyone has an opinion on Sasaki. Like, the fastball it's not an 80 pitch by anyone's rating, but it's been good with the potential to be great quickly, to average, could be good once he gets a little better command. No one is saying like it's an average pitch or anything like that, right? It's still
I think Lance is.
And that's interesting to me. Like, I personally wouldn't agree with that. He's got more experience grading that kind of stuff than I do.
Yeah.
But if all he threw was a fastball, then sure,
Totally.
because someone's going to lock it up and they're going to end up putting the barrel on it. But when you have to guard against the other pitch that he throws, it changes the dimensions of that pitch for the batter.
Yeah, totally. And to be clear, I see some people in the chat saying this. Yes, Lance works for the Cubs network. Lance is not a Cubs guy. If you go to his channel, this is a guy who just covers pitching. He's a driveline guy. That's his background. He's on MLB Network's draft coverage. He was on MLB Network talking about Roki Sasaki. So this has nothing to do with him being a Cubs guy. The Dodgers play the Cubs like 7 times a year. And he was saying this prior to Roki Sasaki even signing with the Dodgers. And so he's a guy that I lean on because he understands the analytics. He studied with the place that all of these top pitchers go is like a driveline type place. Like, that's where Lance comes from. So he understands this type of thing. And I think it's fair. And again, I'm not saying I agree with this. His concerns would be he has 2 pitches. One of them is average. One of them is incredible. The question will be, can he throw the splitter for strikes? Or is it going to get to a point where this thing moves so much, top to bottom, left to right, both directions? It's basically a 94-mile-an-hour knuckleball in some ways. If guys don't think he can throw it for strikes, which this has happened with pitchers that have a great pitch before, then they will see it out of hand and say, take. Now, to your point, which I think is a great one, Anthony, even if that's true, it's not going to happen in the first 3 or 4 games. I think guys are going to be swinging and missing for the first 3 or 4 games when it comes to this pitch. The question will be when we get into May and guys know the book and know the scouting report and have seen how many of these are actually landing in the zone. I think that's where it's going to be really interesting to see the chess match between, is that maybe when the slider comes in and gets developed and gets utilized to keep guys off balance. He mentioned, like Yamamoto, maybe they develop a cutter of some sort to kind of balance some stuff out against lefties and righties. That's the interesting question. Again, I'm optimistic on Sasaki, but I think it's easy for us as Dodgers fans to sit here and say he's going to be awesome, period. This Lance guy's an idiot. When Lance knows more about pitching, he's forgotten more about pitching than I understand about pitching. And I actually appreciate that he's kind of zagging where everybody else is taking this guy's going to be amazing, yada, yada, yada. I'm not saying he's right, but I think it's worth considering. He's not doing it for shock value. He's not doing it for clicks. He's saying what he believes, and it's at least worth listening to and concerning.
Yeah. 2 things to close my stuff on Sasaki here. If he actually can, because we've debated or wondered, can he control that horizontal break on the splitter? Or does it just happen?
It's going left and right.
Right. And I'm of the belief right now that it just sort of happens because
Yep.
the catcher, it looks like the catcher's trying to catch a knuckleball when it comes out like that.
Yeah.
If he can control it more times than not, or like he has an idea where it's going, something like that, that is kind of a third pitch, in my opinion, right? For the very short term, because if you're looking for a splitter and it's darting one way or the other, that's
Yeah.
two different pitches that you have to adjust for.
Yeah.
And then so beyond that, when it comes to those expectations, and I say like I'm on the hype train, I'm believing this guy is the guy. Those expectations are as a number one prospect rookie.
Yeah. That's fair.
Meaning I'm not expecting him to go, 195 innings with the 1.4 ERA.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm not saying that about him right now. I'm saying like I think this guy gives you whatever number of starts he gives you, assuming health is fine. And he's a guy who can put up an ERA that starts with a 3 and it's just a tad over. And
I was going to ask, does the ERA start with a 2 or a 3 in your mind?
And potentially starts with a 2.
Yeah.
I think his stuff can be that good. Look, maybe he's not as polished as a Paul Skeens, and I'm not saying he's going to come out of the blocks like and have that kind of rookie season because that was an all-timer for Skeens. But what I'm saying is that I think he can be that effective.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a good qualification that even if you're high on him, remembering that he's a rookie and coming over and getting used to a new baseball, et cetera, is all worth pointing out. I said this morning, I think 3 innings is what I'm guessing for Sasaki, not because he's poor. I think he gives up 1 run. Pitch count might get up there a little bit. I think he has 3 or 4 strikeouts. I just think in a 2-game series where you have like essentially 10 relievers out there in the bullpen, that the Dodgers are probably going to say 3 innings, great, we've seen enough. And now we can go run out like 6 or 7 different guys to close this one out, depending on what the score is. So that's my guess is 3 innings, 1 earned. We'll say 3 strikeouts for Roki Sasaki. And yeah, I think he's going to be good. I think the splitter's going to be good. I think guys are going to swing and miss a ton at it. And again, I'm curious in May, what does it look like? How has the league adjusted to Sasaki? Is there more control over where that thing is landing? If it's landing in the strike zone, forget about it.
And I think
I have to swing and miss at it, they're not going to have a chance.
Yeah, you're right. And I think more than how the league adjusts to him is how he adjusts. And does he start to throw that slider more? Does he learn how to, does he end up with better command of the foul? That, all of that kind of stuff too. Like it won't just be the book on him. It's going to be how he adjusts to that.
Totally. Absolutely. So again, 3:10 a.m. Roki Sasaki on the mound, Justin Steele on the mound for the Cubs. Freddie Freeman day-to-day, questionable if we're using NFL terms here for tomorrow's game. Other than that, I would imagine maybe the same lineup. Again, maybe it is Conforto sitting out if Freddie Freeman plays because there is another lefty on the mound for the Cubs. Andy Pajes, I would expect to be the center fielder against the lefty again. So we'll see. 2 games in a row and then a bunch of days off. I imagine the Dodgers are able to run a bunch of their main guys out. One other story I wanted to touch on, Anthony, we have this up on DodgerBlue.com. So if you missed it, you can go read about this. But there has been some speculation. As we know, I'm wearing the 2020 version of the gold jersey where they've got the gold outline of the Dodgers. It's only for the World Series. They've got the World Series champions patch on it. Everybody's been eagerly expecting the 2025 version of this. We've got a story up on DodgerBlue.com about what might be a leak of both the jersey and the hat. So shout out to David and Justin. I believe Justin said he saw this at a Nike store in the Grove. I'm not sure where David found these Dodgers hats, but you can see that the hat at least has the World Series patch. It's the same World Series patch that is on the hats that many people, myself included, bought a few months ago. And then instead of the gold outline of the Dodgers jersey, they may, if this is what we're looking at here, be a full gold filled Dodgers logo, gold filled numbers with the red outline. Many people have compared these to the All-Star game jerseys that were worn. You and I texted about these briefly, Anthony, so I'll give you the floor first. Impressed, not impressed, eager to buy, or eager to pass?
On the jersey, I would be eager to pass.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of the full gold. I like the Dodger blue. I like the gold outline. To me, that looked a little more classy. This looks a little more like, I don't know. This looks a little more gaudy.
Yeah.
And I'm not a huge fan of that. The hat, I'm a big fan of the gold outline like they had in going into the 2021 season.
Yeah.
I couldn't get behind the all gold LA logo in the top button. That's okay for me. I do not like that the patch on the hat is the same as it was with the previous hat.
Yeah.
Uh, this one. Or there you go. Yeah, there you go. So from that picture, it's the same patch. What was cool about 2021 was that when the gold trimmed hats came out, the patch was different.
Interesting. Okay.
And so that made it a little, it was a
That might have been because the 2020 original patch sucked and you couldn't read it because the stitching was so bad in it on a lot of those hats. So I wonder if that was intentional or just like, yo, we got to correct this before we bring the next version out.
It was bad. And also that thing was not on the 2021 gold trimmed hat. It was not stitched in. It was like
just a patch.
It was like an emblem kind of. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. It was not stitched in like that. So anyways, if we're going grades on the jersey, I'm giving the jersey a C. I'm giving the hat a B. Just okay. I would still get that hat probably. I'm hoping that this isn't what it is. I want the patch to be at least different, but whatever. Not as great as I was hoping, but the hat'll do for me.
I was hoping to buy a jersey. If that's what the jersey looks like, I'm not going to be buying anything. I'm with you. I think it looks cheap. I don't like the red outline on the number on the front as well. There's just too many. The classic Dodger jersey that's used to having two colors all of a sudden has white and blue and gold and red. And like, it's just too many colors for me on a classic Dodger jersey. So I'm with you. It's a C minus on the jersey. Literally, I saw it and said, well, if that's it, I'm not going to need to buy one, which probably will help my bank account. And I don't even like the hats either. Patch thing aside, like I just don't like the all gold. I just think it looks weird. I want a tweak to the classic Dodgers jerseys and hats, not a fully different hat here. And so maybe I'm grumpy old guy. I was eager. I did not buy a gold trimmed hat last time around. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll grab the hat this time. I will not be buying that hat. I will not be buying that jersey. Hopefully these are not accurate. We don't know. Again, these are two people on Twitter posting these pictures, but I'm not impressed and not eager to buy either of these.
I'm not. Yeah. I'm not, like I said, I was expecting them to be, look, if they would have just done the same thing that they did last time and changed out the patches, I'd have been good with that.
Yeah. I'm with you.
I'm not the biggest fan of either one. Like I said, just because of it is what it, like they won the World Series, I would probably buy the hat anyway. But I would definitely favor the 2021 version over the 2025 version.
And again, I'm not a big jersey guy, but I went out and bought this one. This is the Mookie Betts gold trimmed. It's got the 2020 World Series champions. We did a little customization with the classic Vin patch, threw that on there as well. But yeah, I was like, I'll go, buy an Ohtani jersey. I don't have an Ohtani jersey. That would have been a good one to buy, is the gold trimmed one. But again, if it looks like the one in that picture, hard pass for me. So it sounds like it's a mix. I see some people in the chat kind of agreeing with us that they prefer the 2021 version to the potential 2025. So we'll see. Again,
I would imagine we're going to know for certain, like with the next week, right? Because those would typically be released right before the team does their like ring ceremony, like all that stuff. And that's on next Friday, a week from Friday.
Yeah, you're right. So stay tuned. I know I'm up here in Nike land and I'm waiting for it to drop, seeing if I can get a friend who's an employee discount on one of those. But again, we might not need it. We might not need it if they look like that, which will make my wife and my bank account very, very happy. We got another super chat here from Zenji. Said, been on vacation. I've missed DodgerHeads. Is May going to be traded? I'm worried about Freddie. I threw out a ton of hot takes the other night, Anthony. I had 10 of them. People hated most of them. One of my hot takes was that I think Dustin May gets traded at some point this year. If we've got time at the end, maybe I'll run through and you can tell me which one you hate the most. But while Zenji is asking here, your thoughts on the idea that Dustin May not make it through the 2025 season with the Dodgers?
I don't think he gets traded.
Okay. These were bold predictions, by the way. These were not like things I think are likely to happen. Sure. These are, hey, if you're forcing me to pick some things that have a 15% chance of happening that I think I would pick in that category, this was one of them.
Yeah, I think three things have to happen, or at least one of three things. He's bad as a starter, which then I think because he's I don't think they want to waste him. And if he's bad as a starter, his value is down. And I don't think they would sell with his value down. I think they would then try to turn him into a reliever potentially, at least for this season, and then maybe not mess with him on the market once he hits free agency.
Yeah.
Or he's hurt, which then you can't trade him. No one's going to want him. And then the third thing I was going to say was the bullpen part of it. Which then if he ends up being a valuable piece in the bullpen, then they're not going to trade him anyway.
Yeah.
So for those three reasons, I think it's incredibly unlikely that he gets dealt. And then the other one was about Freddie Freeman, right? We sort of talked about this. Not overly concerned yet. If he sits out game 2, I'm fine with that. If he's back for the home opener, okay. If he does play tomorrow, though, that means that an overly cautious Dodger medical staff thinks that he's fine. So then I'd be full on board and a believer that he's healthy.
Yeah. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run through my bold predictions.
Okay.
I'm going to give you 3 categories: hate, don't hate, and like. And I'll clarify. These are bold predictions. These are not like all things that I'm expecting to come true. Like if you want a show that's going to come out here and give you a bold prediction that Shohei Ohtani is going to be good at baseball, or that the Dodgers are going to win 100 games or something, look somewhere else. These are crazy predictions. So hate, don't hate, like. Those are your 3 categories. Okay. My first one, these were in no particular order, is that Michael Conforto leads the Dodgers outfield in wins above replacement in 2025. Hate, don't hate, or like.
Don't hate.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
This is the one that everybody hates. And Blake actually agrees with me, which scares me a little bit. I think Tommy Edman will be league average offensively. And I think I used the word that he might be disappointing because if people are expecting playoff version of Tommy Edman, I know you hate this one actually. And I'm remembering a conversation we already had about this. But I said, if you're expecting playoff version of Tommy Edman offensively, I think you're going to be disappointed because I think he's league average.
I think that first part of the statement's fair.
Okay. So don't hate. Tommy Edman will be league average offensively.
I don't know. No. I don't hate that if you're expecting playoff Tommy Edman, you probably will be disappointed. I don't hate that. That's fair. Don't hate. Hate that he'll be league average offensively.
Okay.
I think he'll be better than that.
Okay. Number 3, Clayton Kershaw is going to be a real contributor to the 2025 Dodgers.
What are the 3 categories?
Hate, don't hate, and like.
Like.
Love that. Mookie Betts is a Gold Glove finalist at shortstop.
Hate.
Okay. I like it. I did joke in there that keep in mind that nobody cares about the Gold Glove, and the finalists in these categories typically suck. So I hedged a little bit.
I say hate, not saying that he's going to be a catastrophe. I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's going to contend for a Gold Glove.
Okay, next one. This is a bad look after 0 for 5 today, but I think Kike Hernandez is a 2.5 win player. He's only done that once since 2018. Basically, I'm saying I think he's going to play more than maybe people expect, and I believe in Glass's Kike.
Hate.
Okay, geez. Okay, I hate this next one, so I'm just warning everybody. I hate my own bold prediction here. Okay, I said Mookie Betts 30-30 in 2025.
Don't hate.
Okay, I like it. The problem is stolen bases. He hasn't had more than 16 since 2018.
Yeah, and I think the issue, and there's a chance he may run more. If he's healthy and he's playing the infield, maybe they let him loose a little more. The problem is where he hits in the order.
Yeah.
More than anything.
You don't want to be messing around.
Because
Ohtani did it from the same spot, basically.
But when did those tick up? When Mookie went out.
Yeah, true. There you go. We already talked Dustin May gets traded. I said Tony Gonsolin, 100 innings pitched, ERA under 3.5. Hate, don't hate, or like.
100 innings? 100 innings?
100 innings, 3.5 ERA.
Man.
That feels like a don't hate. Just based on the
I'll say don't hate. And quickly, the reason for that is because I don't think he'll get enough innings I don't think he'll get enough starts to get over 100 innings.
Okay.
But I do think that ERA could be sub 3.5 for sure.
Okay, I got two more. Jack Dreyer is going to be a dude for the Dodgers.
Don't hate.
Okay. I joked that I kind of wanted to say James Outman plays more games in center field than Andy Pages, but I didn't say that one. So it was kind of like, if hypothetically someone had said that, that might have been a thing, but I didn't say that one. Number 10, if people hated the Tommy Edman one, they needed to create a new category of hate for number 10, because that's Chris Taylor's on the Dodgers playoff roster.
We texted about this one, actually.
People didn't like this one, Anthony. You'll be surprised to hear.
Yeah, shocker. Don't hate.
Don't hate. Look at this. Love that. You hear that, people? Anthony doesn't hate it. Ella Shiva all caps hate. She couldn't get hate in more bold lettering.
Yeah, I know. They need bold and like a text message where the word blows up. They need all that.
Exactly. Kenny's got 3 sick faces. David hates it. Everybody hates that one.
I understand that, but I think what the fans are saying here, my barometer for how I feel about your bold predictions are like how likely they are to be a thing.
Yeah.
And I think if you're asking us, do we think Chris Taylor should be on that? No, we probably both say no, right? We agree with everyone in the chat. I think, though, that
I don't think he's going to be one of the 13 best offensive players that they have this season.
Yeah. And if you are coming down to your 26th man and your last guy on the bench determining your playoff future, a lot of things went wrong before that.
Okay, I'm going to run you through these because I didn't prep you for this.
Okay.
Give me the order. I'm not saying a Dodger's going to win MVP, but which rank 1, 2, and 3 the Dodgers who received the most votes in MVP voting at the end of the season.
Okay.
So last year, for context, Ohtani won, Betts was 13th, Freeman was 17th, Teoscar was 19th. All 4 received votes.
Okay. I will go Shohei. Duh.
Yeah. Duh. He paused there for a second. I was like, don't overthink this, Anthony. The guy's going to be pitching. He's going to be pitching at some point.
Yeah. I got one for you. Blake Snell, too.
You're going Snell over Mookie and Ohtani and Freeman in MVP voting.
Yeah. Wow. I think he has a Cy Young contention caliber season.
Okay.
And I think he is maybe he's the one guy in the rotation that potentially gets enough starts that like you have to notice it.
Yeah. I think Yamamoto could as well. Yamamoto averaged 180 innings a year in the NPB in his last 3, but I agree with you. I think a lot of these guys will be DQ'd because of innings, but I think Snell and Yamamoto would be the only 2 I'd consider contenders.
Yeah. And then my third one would be Mookie.
Okay. All right. My next one was going to be Cy Young finisher, but you just answered that question unless you're somehow going to have somebody else over Snell in Cy Young voting, but not in MVP voting.
Yeah, I think Snell would be my pick anyway. I know we talked about Yamamoto early in
Matt
the show.
and I both picked Yamamoto.
And my concern there is the number of innings for Yamamoto. Yeah. I think all the other rate kind of stats and run prevention stats put him in that conversation. I think the innings takes him out. And I think because Snell is the one guy who probably will most likely or most often pitch on quote unquote normal rest.
Yeah.
I think he's the guy who ends up probably finishing higher in that way.
Roki Sasaki, Rookie of the Year, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Matt and I both went no. Or Matt went yes, I think, and I went no.
I think he gets enough innings. I think they find a way to get him enough innings because you know what? It's important for them as an organization because I think they want that draft pick.
Yeah, totally agree with you there.
Not that they would run him into the ground, but I think like that will play a factor. Yeah.
Win total over or under the 111 that
under.
They won back in 2022. You say under?
Under. Yeah, I think my prediction the other day was I think I said 105.
Okay. I said over, Matt said under.
And the reason for that was because I think they don't push themselves in September to get there.
Who finishes second in the NL West?
I think the Padres do.
Wow. Okay. A lot of people saying D-back, so I like that. Anthony zagging, loves the Padres. Gap in the NL West.
Shut up.
2024, it was 5 games. 2023, it was 16 games. 2022, it was 22 games. You're picking the Padres second. What's the gap between the Dodgers and the Padres?
10 games. My over under, like if I were setting an over under, it'd be 10.5 for me.
Okay. All right. Do the Dodgers win the World Series?
Yes.
There you go. Love that. All right, folks, let's get to some questions. We got a few more minutes here. If you've got a question for us, all caps questions. I know there's not a ton of baseball to talk about. This is our second show since they played a game, but we'll get to it. Hater Tot says, big props to Jeff for all the work these next 2 days.
Yeah,
appreciate you. Look, I'm lucky to do what
absolutely.
I get to do. So it's, and yes, some people, I got called out, Anthony. I read the comments. They don't bother me. I just find them entertaining. I had people saying, bro, you look tired. I'm like, homie, it was 3 a.m. when I woke up. I'm supposed to look tired. I got 3 kids. I thought like I fell asleep at 6:30 p.m. Like, of course I was tired. I'm like, guess what? Newsflash alert for everybody. At 5:45 a.m. when you see my face tomorrow, guess what I'm going to look like? Freaking tired. Cup number 2 of coffee. All right. So forewarning. But I appreciate the love. Hater Tots. Thank you.
It was about you started the live show after the game with saying that, you know, the hour starts with the 5 currently.
Yeah, it's
and
a
then,
record.
like,
DodgerHeads record.
And then, like, whatever it was, 20 minutes into it or something, you're like, you know, it's cup of coffee number 2 so far today. And it was like, boy, Jeff is grinding right now.
Totally. If you're going cup of coffee number 2 by 6 a.m., I see Hawaiian Kira says, how many cups today? We did the 2 cups of coffee at about 9:30. We did an iced Americano. So we got 2 shots in there. And I don't think I went back for a 4th one. I think I prepped, though. I've got a local coffee shop that hooks me up. So I basically got an iced Americano to throw in the fridge for tomorrow morning. So we're down. We're going to have some variety of drink there. A couple shots of espresso in the morning. So I think we were at 2 12-ounce cups of coffee and an Americano today.
I love it.
I did get a nap. Look, I'm not claiming to be Superman over here. I did get a nap. I got to wake up early tomorrow. And then at 8 a.m., we're hitting the road for 10 hours driving to Reno. So, it's going to be a grind. It's going to be a grind.
I love it.
I did want to give a shout out, by the way. Eric Hernandez follows me on Twitter. Our guy hooked it up. Our king, Walker Buehler.
Nice.
Yep. I appreciate it. Knows I love Dodgers bobbleheads. And was like, hey, I got an extra Buehler one. You want one? So shout out to Eric Hernandez. I appreciate you. I will say yes. Maybe not to every bobblehead, but Walker Buehler bobbleheads, which I'm going to tweet this tomorrow. So everybody, if you agree with me, retweet this. The Dodgers aren't going to do a Walker Buehler bobblehead like this because he's not a Dodger. He's not Red Sox. Foco, where are you at? Like, this is your time to shine, Foco USA. Is the Walker Buehler, are you not entertained in a Dodgers uniform bobblehead? That sells out immediately, right? Like, everybody's going to want that bobblehead, Anthony.
That will be, even though he's not on the team anymore, that'll be an iconic pose.
Iconic.
And when they bring him back for, you know, when he's on his retirement tour.
Well, when they trade for him at the deadline and he's throwing clutch innings down the stretch, or the retirement tour.
That will be the lasting image of him as a Dodger.
Yeah, totally. It was a non-negotiable. When we made the intro video, I'm like, look, Chris Taylor was the capper last time, and that became a running joke off Alex Reyes. The capper this year is 2024 Walker Buehler, arms extended. Are you not entertained? World Series. So shout out to Walker Buehler. And again, shout out to Eric Hernandez. Thank you for that. Christopher says, what are you doing in Reno? I got family there, but I don't know if I could say this on a baseball podcast. Thursday and Friday, the greatest 2 sports days of the year. Day 1 and day 2 of March Madness. I will be all day watching games in a ballroom, in a hotel. Screens everywhere, food everywhere, drinks everywhere. It's me and my dad, so it's going to be great. Normally, we do Vegas every year. My brother, who doesn't watch the show, so I can say this on here, I'd say it to his face. He's an idiot, and he scheduled a trip with some friends, didn't realize it was March Madness, screwed that up. So my cousin couldn't make it. My best friend wanted to pull it off, but my dad was like, let's just do Reno this year because they moved there. So March Madness in Reno, that's where I'll be. And then, you know, after that, we're hanging with the grandparents, so it'll be good. Shout out to our guy, Scott Gearman, by the way, in the house. We talked about your boy, Benny Caps, earlier, Scott. So there you go. Let's see. Let's get to some of these questions before we go. Hawaiian Kira wants to know, what do you rate the Pokemon intro, Anthony? I don't rate the Pokemon intro. I got no beef with the Pokemon intro. My daughter would be fired up about Pikachu being on the screen. I wasn't paying close attention. I'm not even anti it. I just literally have no opinion.
Yeah. I'm pretty indifferent on it also. I'm too old to have lived through the Pokemon stuff as a kid. I barely even noticed it, and to be honest with you. But what is funny though are like a lot of the screen grabs on Twitter afterward of like it's like Shohei, a Pokemon character. I don't even know who they are. And then like the next guy in line, right? Like that stuff was funny that I saw like a lot of the still shots. But like when I was watching it, it kind of didn't even register.
Yeah, fair. Let's see. Let's get to some other questions here. Elishiva says, when is Kershaw starting, given that he's going on the 15-day, or he's on the 15-day IL? May. Him and Ohtani were on the same timeline. Ohtani not throwing, maybe get pushed back a little bit, but May, I believe, is the timeline for Clayton Kershaw. So
I don't have a Pikachu pillow.
Trying to think. I don't think we've got any stuffed Pikachu situations here, but my daughter is into Pokemon. She's got some cards.
Oh, okay.
There you go. GI wants to know, will Blake be slumming it around Tokyo eating Wagyu beef tonight? If you missed the show this morning, we finally got a report on the food he's been eating. He's very mad that they don't have like chicken breast, chicken tender meat for him. It's just chicken thighs, big chicken guy. And instead, he basically said like, well, I've been having a lot of Wagyu beef, but it's not chicken. It's not chicken. So there you go. He did eat at McDonald's. He didn't say he was going to do it, but he claims he's been told the Taco Bells in Japan are different and that he needs to visit them. So if you want to get a sense, he said he's been eating some Japanese barbecue. So, I mean, that seems like a positive for our guy.
I guess. I mean, it's not that different than regular barbecue.
Hey, we're just saying, look, it's not McDonald's. He's not crushing Big Macs over there. He even got a chicken teriyaki sandwich, chicken. Sure enough.
He's easing his way in. All right.
So El Shiva, yeah, did Blake eat anything really Japanese food? Japanese barbecue is what he said he ate. I don't think he's a big sushi guy, so I wouldn't expect any of that. He wouldn't have been touching that tuna they chopped up via Ohtani and Sasaki the other day. Bionic Piano Man said, what's the timeline for Kopech and Phillips' return? Whose spots do they take in the pen? Great question. I don't know the timeline. I think both of them, it's not expected to be long. I would imagine April sometime, Anthony.
I think for Phillips, yeah, it sounds like Kopech maybe has hit a snag in that timeline. From what I'm trying to remember me reading this week, I might be wrong on that. But the last thing I did read about Phillips was saying like he's progressing well, and I think he's coming. As far as like whose spots they take, I mean, Bonda, they're not, but Bonda has to be really
it's probably Robleski.
Right.
And I think Kasperius. I mean, let me rephrase. Right now, because they only need 2 starters and they had to have a 26-man roster, they've got some random dudes. Luis Garcia is on the roster. They took an extra offensive guy because they just know they're not going to need all 26 spots.
Yes.
So once they get back, the 26-man roster is going to be different. So I would imagine Jack Dreyer, Justin Robleski are guys who are probably on the outside looking in. I think Kasperius stays up as long as Tony Gonsolin, who is now injured, is unavailable. And then you've got other guys like Sauer, I think was a guy who's like technically on the travel roster. Luis Garcia is on the active roster. Those guys are going to be long gone. So
yeah. And at least in the short term for when they return, these things kind of tend to work themselves out with like a guy's going to go on the IL or something like that. So hopefully they're back in April. That would be great. And I don't think that any of the big names that everyone will be pining for, I don't think any of those guys are in jeopardy.
Okay. We do have one update, by the way. There was an egg salad sandwich that has been getting rave reviews from like convenience stores, and Blake did eat it. Said the egg salad is legit. Which look, I'm an egg salad guy. I can get down with some egg salad. So
he got a convenience store egg salad sandwich in Japan.
Hey, Anthony Bourdain approved. He said there was an Anthony Bourdain tweet. The unnatural, inexplicable deliciousness of the Lawson's egg salad sandwich. # Tokyo at parts unknown CNN. RIP Anthony Bourdain, legend. And then Arash Markazi also tweeted about it this week, saying it's hard to explain how great this sandwich is. One of the best sandwiches I've ever had, and it comes prepackaged from a convenience store.
All good.
I'd get down with it. I'd get down. He says Blake says the egg salad is legit. So there you go.
Egg salad's gross.
Oh, love egg salad. You a tuna guy?
I don't mind tuna. Okay. Like not canned tuna, not like that. But
like a tuna salad sandwich.
Tuna sushi.
Oh, But okay, sorry. So you don't do tuna on sandwiches.
Not really, no. And most of the time it has mayo, and I'm not a mayo guy.
You're just out on mayo, period. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Love a tuna sandwich. One of my wife's least favorite things about me. Just come home. Like one of my worst food takes that people hate. Safe place, 1,300 people in here. We're past the hour mark. I'm drinking a tequila and lime over here. We've been up since 3 a.m. with the little nap in between. Subway's, like a Subway tuna sandwich with a little melted cheese, pepper jack cheese on top. Elite. Just freaking love it. Freaking love it. My wife is just like, she can smell it. It's like I'm in the driveway. She's like, don't you dare come anywhere near me with that breath unless you're planning on throwing like 12 pounds of mouthwash in there. So there you go.
All right.
Wow. Scott, don't say things you're not going to follow through on. He said, I might be joining Jeff in the morning if I make it through the game and if he needs a running mate. I can assure you I need a running mate at 5:45 in the morning trying to do a post-game show. So
Jeff's going to need someone carrying the load by then, Scotty.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Completely. Blake saved me. He made a 15-minute cameo tonight. So there we go. But yeah, Scott, you're in. Penciled in. Not even penciled. We're putting you in pen. Scott's on the live show with me tomorrow night. We're going to build up the tweet. And he says we ride. There we go. Set the alarm, baby. Set the alarm. Last question. David says, stupid question. David, I was told in second grade there's no such thing as a stupid question. So if we haven't learned that lesson, I'll help you learn it. He says, stupid question, but couldn't this be the best pitching staff ever assembled, starting pitching plus bullpen? I think the answer to this question, Anthony, is it could be. For sure, it could be. On paper, it belongs in the conversation, whether that comes to fruition. But if they get not even like 10 out of 10 versions, if they get A- versions of Snell, Glasnow, Yamamoto, Ohtani, Sasaki, and then Tanner Scott, Blake Trinan, Michael Kopech, Evan Phillips, Kirby Yates, Alex Vesia. It has to. I just named 6 guys who would be closers on some teams. And I just named 5 guys who would be the number 1 pitcher on half the league.
Yeah. I said earlier, if health is normalized for this bullpen, best bullpen easily in franchise history.
Yeah.
And then I think I said before too, over the winter, that I think health permitting again, that this rotation has to be in the conversation of the best ever assembled top to bottom.
Yeah.
Like they're going to have guys who are pitching in the 4th, 5th, quote unquote 6 spots. That would be front end guys in almost any rotation in the big leagues today.
Yeah.
Like if Dustin May was coming back for whatever team,
National.
they're like, we need this guy to be like a number 2, number 3 type of guy at the minimum.
Yep.
Number 3, like seriously. And he's going to be like, he could be on the outside looking in on this rotation by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So good stuff there. Hey, everybody. We're at the hour 10 mark. We appreciate you all for joining us here on a Tuesday night. We've said this before. Now that the season has begun, Sunday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night, we will be right here. Anthony and I will be here on Tuesdays. Anthony and I will be here on Sundays.
Yes,
I believe. And then it's going to be me plus Matt / Blake on Thursdays, maybe a rotating crew of guests on that one as well. So Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, Sunday nights, of course, Tuesdays will likely be post-game shows most of the time. Thursdays, they randomly have off a bunch. So those might be normal kind of podcast style shows Sunday nights as well, given that most of those games will be day games. So Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, Sunday nights, be sure to join us. And then again, 3 a.m., set the alarms, everybody. What are we? With 7 hours. 7 hours from right now is first pitch tomorrow. So make sure to join us. We'll be here live around 5:45, 6 a.m. for a post-game show. Scott Gierman has now promised all of us that he will be with us. Scott, I appreciate you more than you know for hopping on with me, because a 40-minute post-game show by yourself at 5:45 a.m. is a dangerous thing. We survived one. We didn't want to push our luck for day 2. Folks, we appreciate you. As always, check out DodgerBlue.com. If you're new here, subscribe, ring the notification bell. Tons of new subscribers over the last few weeks. We appreciate you. Our guy Blake doing incredible stuff out in Japan. So if you've missed some of the content that's right here on the YouTube page, go comb through it after this is done. DodgerBlue.com, DodgerBlue1958 on social media as well. That is Anthony Witrado. I am Jeff Spiegel. Folks, enjoy the rest of your night. Dodgers 1-0. Best team in baseball. Only undefeated team in baseball. Only team with a win in Major League Baseball. And best of all, still champs.